Hey everybody, it's Thea, and today I am doing a film review about The Devil Wears Prada. Woohoo! I was originally thinking about doing this on my podcast, which I also have. It's called Is This Really for Kids, which examines children's media, but then I decided, even though I watched this movie as a kid, and I do think it's a hit with teens, because who doesn't want, like, life in a magazine, right? I do think this is something you primarily understand in your 20s, and thus it is on my channel. As you know, on my channel, we do things a little differently around here. We're not pulling clips from the actual movie to save from copyright strikes. We are making art, AI art, AA, like it's going to a meeting. I don't know, guys. But we make AI art. We take my vlogs from real life, from things that I've worked on, that I have clearance for, that are all in theme to the film some way. Basically make a piece of art and also talk about the film. So, oh my gosh, The Devil Wears Prada. This film makes me very excited. I've always liked it, and I think it's definitely might be in my top 25. Who knows? It's definitely in my top 50, definitely top 100 of films. It is a 2006 comedy drama, American. It was a book beforehand. I never read the book, but I really liked the movie. Maybe it'd be different if I did read the book. It's just got that, there was just some early, like late 90s, early 2000 movies that just were slapping, and I just like it a lot. So we've got Anne Hathaway, who her Princess Diaries career just set her up for success in this, I would say, because it's very much like she comes into a job with that classic old sweater, old blouse, underneath a trench coat. Like, I think she looks good, but it's not like cutting edge style expensive, right? It's like affordable, cool person, like probably what I would wear because I want to be comfortable, which is not always fashion. And she's interviewing some people, and they find out that the boss Miranda fired two editors-in-chief, and Emily Blunt, this, I think, launched her because she's just absolutely cutthroat and amazing in this. I don't know what her career was like before, but I love it. I also was very excited because at the time I was reviewing this movie, Emily Blunt and I had the same hair color, and that was pretty cool because it wasn't on purpose, but it was nice to have a kinship with Emily Blunt. Now I do not. Now whose hair color I have, probably a million, so whoever has dark brown hair. So The Devil Wears Prada wasn't even greenlit until Strep, oh my god, like she is sick. I'll get words right one day, guys. Meryl Streep was cast in the lead role. It took 57 days to film this movie, and it was primarily filmed in New York City, which is just a big part of the movie. It's very much about that location and the energy of the city, and having been to New York, I will say it does feel like The Devil Wears Prada. At least it did to me in my experiences of New York. So Streep had critical acclaim for this performance, right? I think this is maybe everybody's favorite role of her. I really like her in Doubt too. It's a toss-up between this. She won a lot of nominations. She got the Golden Globe Award for Best Actress. She got the Academy Award for Best Actress nomination and the Screen Actors Guild Award as well. Obviously, Hathaway and Blunt, they were beloved for this. It was 326 million worldwide. So if you think your movie can't make money, but it was a $41 million budget, but still, like, absolutely, that's like more than doubling. It did very, very well, right? And it was the 12th highest grossing film worldwide. So it's set in the fashion world, right? But a lot of well-known establishments and people didn't want to be in it because they all believe that Presley, Streep's character, is based on the Anna Wintour, who I did take her masterclass. She did not seem as mean. Maybe she has softened in her old age. And obviously at the end of this movie, it seems like she is softer now than she was. But a lot of people didn't come in because they didn't want to displease the US Vogue editor, who is the inspiration. And she honestly was like, I really liked the film, and she liked Streep in particular. So she's got self-confidence. I do think, like, the person who is the Presley in all of this, right, is like a confident person. So here's Anne Hathaway, right, in a sweater. Very mean Emily Blunt compared, but her name is Andy in this, and she is recently graduated from Northwestern University. She doesn't have any familiarity with the fashion industry, as I guess by her outfit. But she's interviewing anyway. We love a girl boss trying in this economy. We hear Presley talk about, like, dirty models that she didn't like, and that she wants tarts and not hot dogs. And she's gonna interview Andy herself, because the last person that people sent in was, like, inarticulate. She's just a very blunt person, right? Like, this is so much information to have on an interview. Borderline inappropriate. I think is just this, but this is a woman in control, right? And it really is the that's all energy, though annoying. I would love to have that sort of boundary. And it is like a learning thing of, like, your boss. Like, I feel like this is an over exaggeration of, like, being in your 20s and not knowing things and trying to get more information and learn, and bosses just being so in over their head. They're like, that's all I have time for. That's all I have. Like, you get this much, you can't ask all these questions. You'll just have to figure it out, which can create a good thing. And Miranda's just very blunt with Andy. She's like, you've no style. You don't read Runaway. You have no style, and it's not even a question, and I don't want to hear what you have to say. That's all. And she's like, you know what? Like, Andy kind of just talks to her, and she's like, not everybody fits in with your stuff. And Presley's just like, whatever, like, not really interested, like, doesn't super care, because she's like going on about how I'm being, like, not skinny is skinny, and how, just how Andy is not, like, even the body type for her. Like, she shames her on that, even though, like, we've seen Anne Hathaway, right? Like, she looks great. Like, even, you can't put her in a sweater. You can try to do that. Mia Thermopolis, I still think she was cute either way, right? I guess I'm weird. I guess I'm a weirdo there, but I thought she looked great. And Anne Hathaway's character, Andy, is just basically like, I might not be glamorous, but I am smart and I can work fast. And they just kind of think that both of the other are just, like, sad people, right? Don't understand each other, have a very big dynamic. And Presley has interrupted the interview because kind of gay fashion designer comes in and says, what about this model? And she's like, oh, he looks like a golden nugget. Don't worry about Nigel harassing a model, because he is going to help out the protagonist of Anne Hathaway. So it's totally fine. Anyway, so we've got Adrian, who is from Entourage, as her boyfriend. He is so hot. I cannot with him. It's just insane. Like, you want to know my type? It's that. And I'm sorry. We've got a lot of blue eyeshadow was the times. Emily Blunt's whole thing is that she wants to go to Paris Fashion Show in the fall to meet all the designers. So she's just trying to do a good enough job to go there. And Anne Hathaway's job is just basically to answer the phone. And so she has this task of getting the book mock-up, which is of, like, the magazine, and she has to deliver it to the apartment with the notes in the morning. If she's late with the coffee, they're like, has she died? It's just, like, so dramatic. I do truly wonder how much of this is true, because it's hilarious. She couldn't spell Gawana, and she knows that Anne Hathaway is, like, an 8.5, and is very curious if she even has heels. And then Miranda is constantly also calling for Emily, which means Andy, doesn't even want to get to know the name. And she's like, how many times do I have to scream your name? And she was just honestly just saying it. But you know, we love a theatrical. And I can't tell, sometimes I wonder if this is truly like Anna Wintour, if like there was some of these things is like, is it just like sarcasm of like a joke that people don't get because she just seems intense? Like, because I feel like that's that. But Andy is like, you know, actually, I didn't come because my name's Andy. So, like, she's very much bargaining for her respect, which in a capitalist society, especially in the fashion world, I think is brave, one would say. So anyway, she has to get 10 to 15 skirts, and she can bore somebody else with her questions. And they want Calvin Klein satchels, and to take Jackie instead, and to get DeMarshall on the phone to confirm. But certain people, like, eventually, like, she doesn't even want the shoes when she has them, and Emily is just very much like, listen, you just, like, never can ask Miranda questions, you know, and you should skip out at the hideous skirt convention. So Anne Hathaway picks 25 skirts fast, and she's just, like, very overwhelmed her first day, hasn't peed since she left, just wants a fresh starburst. There's throwings of bags and coats. 4 became the next 26, which is the new 14, which does feel true, unfortunately. Or rather that, like, the size 4, yes, it's about age as well, but the size 4 is supposed to become a 2 or a 6. A 2 or a 0 rather, and 6 is like the new size 14, which is unfortunately a statistic that I don't think has changed very much in the fashion world. Unfortunately, all 3 of the female leads, Streep, Blunt, and Hathaway, were so hungry on the set because they had to lose so much weight, which makes sense. Like, the fashion industry does prioritize, like, basically thin skeleton people, but yeah, it's just hard to think about. Like, I hate that is a part of acting, is like how you look, and I think that's why too I'm going more into voice acting, because that stuff is stressful and I don't want any part of it. Anyway, so Hathaway meets this guy who has a tiny huge ego, doesn't care much, like Miranda, which I do love Streep's performance, and she did make a lot of different choices from Anna Wintour, who this is based about. Like, she was insistent too on, like, her hair being white. The studios really trusted Streep, and she also, this is the only role she went method for, which I honestly found hard to believe, but that is what Wikipedia says, you know. But anyway, yeah, so she basically said she thought Anne Hathaway was going to do great, and that was, like, the last nice thing she was going to say, and she isolated herself from the cast and crew and was her the whole things between, like, method, held the character between takes, and yeah, like, just basically didn't know. And she was like, I was so depressed I would hear them laughing, and I was like, I don't think I would do that. Like, I think, like, it's her best role, obviously, which is the focus and the coldness and the meanness. And she says that she took her, like, quiet delivery from Clint Eastwood, because he never really shouts, but there's so much, like, power in that, which I think was really well done. The things that are Anna Wintour trademarks are, like, the please go bore somebody else, that's all, the coats on the desk, which kind of makes sense to me, because there's no coat rack, even though it would make sense to do it. And I also understand it being so busy that you're like, I have an assistant, they can fiddle with hanging the coats. And that's the thing, is, like, a lot of people were like, why does somebody excellent have to be nice? And I would think, like, you would want to be, but it is interesting that our society allows for that. It's like, oh, if you're talented, you can act whatever way you want. I think we're shifting from that now in this modern day thing, but definitely, like, in the 2000s, they were like, treat me like trash daddy, you know? But I I hope to retain my kindness and as I get more successful, you know? Anyway, so Miranda ends up like laughing at Andy, um who thinks that all the belts are the same when they really do look like the same. But I also get it as fashion because like I have several black belts, but they're all very like in various different shapes and sizes. And maybe somebody would see it and be like, oh, there's a lot of like black and gold belts, but it's not the same. And Hathaway is like just kind of thinking that Miranda takes herself too seriously, and she just doesn't want to care. Like she's just trying to like get her foot in the door for a journalism career, which who Eileen, I think, is the person who was the screenplay writer who had also a journalism career that she tried to pursue and put herself into that, which I think really shows. And she was also involved in Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. So Miranda also just goes as like, oh, you're saying you don't care, but like no matter what, and Streep fought for this cerulean monologue. It was actually going to be cut. She fought for that one, and then we'll get to the other one she fought for. But she was basically like, so there were cerulean gowns, 8 designers. They trickle into the clearance bin that you fish out, and it's like millions of dollars went in to this thing that you selected, which a lot of critics liked because it was like, that's true about the fashion industry, is like nothing that any clothes that you buy are heavily influenced by like somebody else. And we see Emily is like not hungry, and she is just like doing a lot of like dangerous diets, which then eventually unfortunately like come and haunt her. And yeah, I hate it. The anorexia message in this movie is not fully utilized, I guess, in the way of like Andy eventually choosing herself and to walk away. But anyway, she's like, if you just eat a grilled cheese, you are good for a year, which I mean, sometimes I do feel that full in a grilled cheese, but I don't know realistically. So Andy just gets like hit with a lot of these people, has all of these like boogie boards, all of the different coats. There's no greetings from Miranda, just orders. And Andy's dad is coming in from Ohio, and they want to go see Chicago. But Emily Blunt is like, not like, don't talk to her, don't ask her about that. And her dad gives Andy money because her mom told him that she was worried about her because there's just terrible pay for being an assistant, which is also kind of awful to be like, I'm going to treat you like crap, and I'm also not going to pay you well, especially when you have all this money around you, you know? But Andy is like, listen, like, don't worry, this is opening doors, I'm going to meet editors, you know, a lot of writers, every magazine, like, this is a really good break for me. But she has to go and find a flight tonight from Miami to New York when there is a hurricane. The anxiety in this movie is so great. Like, all the loud noises, like, especially, like, New York is such a busy city, and like, it's not easy to get from one end of town to another. It takes time, and I would imagine, especially in a hurricane. So she ends up finding like the National Guard to lift her. Rich privilege must be nice. And they talk about how they always hire like the same girl, the slender, stylish, and it's always disappointing. And she gets mad that she missed her twins' recital, and she was like, I just wanted to take a chance and hire the smart fat girl, which is just, honestly kind of infuriating because it's like Anne Hathaway is not fat. I don't know that anybody would ever call her fat. She's like tall, but she's not, like, that's insane. And I often wonder, like, what that did to Anne Hathaway. You know what I mean? And what that means. And I think that I do believe probably people like Anna Wintour would call Anne Hathaway. I don't even know if they would call Anne Hathaway fat. That still feels like a stretch, but maybe. Like, I'm not sure. Especially that, like, Meryl Streep is by no means, like, smaller than Anne Hathaway. So I don't understand the meaning of that. I think, like, that language of that. Like, if you want to call a fat person fat, fine, right? Because a lot of fat people will call them own selves fat. Like, they'll admit to it. It's not a big deal. But to call something that's not fat, like, it's like if you call a skinny person fat, you're shifting fat to obese. And then, like, I don't know what you call obese people. Like, it's not humanizing. It's not factual. It's not true. But that also, like, I think that's just where Miranda gets her power, is, like, having little digs and insults in that way. But she makes Anne Hathaway cry by that, who leaves, because it's probably humiliating. I think if I looked like Anne Hathaway and my boss called me fat, I'd be like, I'll schedule you an eyeglasses appointment tomorrow. You have to get them checked, Like, I think I don't think that I would, like, cry or whatever. Like, if I look like Anne Hathaway, like, if Miranda Presley called me fat right now, I think I'd be sensitive, because it's like, well, I am fat, and I'm like, I don't know how to fix it, I have, like, a literal disease. What do I do, But if I looked like Anne Hathaway and she called me fat, I would be like, okay, we're gonna get you some glasses. I can go to the eye doctor with you, and the eye doctor can help you. Like, I don't think I would let her pull that move on me, which is probably why I'm fat, because if I was a skinny bitch, nothing would get past me, I'd have an insatiable ego. It would be insane. But anyway, she just feels like anything that she does right is unacknowledged, and it's always about how wrong and bad she was, but she doesn't want to quit, but she's killing herself trying, so she needs to approach, like, the fashion way of, like, not trying. And Nigel is like, you don't care, and this magazine has people that would try to kill people to be here. Nothing in the closet will fit a size 6, which is just insane, but I have noticed that in a lot of brands. Like, it's so gross, and it's isolating to people, and it's also, like, you can be fashionable at any size, like, and you can do greater works of art, I would think, with bigger sizes, but I don't know. I don't understand this industry, and I hate many things about it. But anyway, they decide to make Hathaway over. She didn't know what an eyelash curler is. Those are always so painful. And now she's super stylish, and she's out doing Emily Blunt. She shows up to her boyfriend all sleek, which I feel like Anne Hathaway wasn't the first choice for the Devil Wears Prada, which seems insane, because this is such a, like, Princess Diaries, like, very similar thing. Like, that's the perfect reel for this movie. You know what I mean? And she's like, her boyfriend even makes a joke. He's like, oh, I better get out of here before my girlfriend sees me with you. And she is, like, showing all these looks. People are taking notes. Miranda notices her style and still doesn't have her, not have, like, the weird phones. But is definitely, like, appreciative that she's now trying. She's given everyone gifts, and Anne Hathaway gets all mad because her friends, like, steal her phone when Miranda's trying to get a hold of her, and she's, like, super mad because she's like, this is work. She looks so young here. I mean, she's still very new to the scene in a lot of ways. But she meets a designer of bags, and she gets drinks and is like, hey, you should design Miranda's dress. And they're leaving she's like leaving friends, and she meets this guy who is like a Christian Thompson writer, and he's like, you know what, you're nice and you're smart, you're never gonna survive Miranda, but for sure send some stuff over, and you shouldn't have said anything like about your job. Like they're very encouraging of like not complaining, which seems to be a capitalist trend, you know. But then she gets the golden light, right? The two nods, which is a very good. She one nod is like good, but the two nods, that's what you're looking for. But if she pierces her lips, it's a catastrophe. So then she has the responsibility of to deliver the book to the home, and the twins are like, yeah, bring the book upstairs, because she's busy arguing with her husband. And she sees her with the book and is like, I need you to get the unpublished Harry Potter book. And she always makes her get a steak that she doesn't want, and she like breaks the plate, and she's like, if you don't have the Harry Potter book, like, don't even bother coming back. Meanwhile, her boyfriend is like happy and free, and she is trying to find an extra copy. She finds that there's like 2 copies on a train. She's got people working on the twin science project, which is just like, I love the rich are like, rules don't apply to me, you know, like fair and equity. I'm not going to instill that into my children. Like, we're just going to let them have everything they want, never suffer. Which I think is love in a way. So her boyfriend and Hathaway's ends up being disappointed that she didn't quit, because he liked her old clothes, but he does really like her sexy under things. And she is like, listen, I'm the same girl. Like, you know, yes, I feed one of the models, you know, my personal life is on a thread. But I am getting close to promotion. I'm getting good at work. And then we have the iconic line, too, of, like, florals for spring, groundbreaking, which is exactly why I did this review at this time, because it was spring. Hopefully it will be spring by the time I actually finish this. But I was just like, oh, yeah, this is a spring thing. So, unfortunately, Emily gets sick, and then on her boyfriend's birthday, Anne Hathaway has to go to this benefit. Emily is like, it's okay that I have the stomach flu because I'm a little bit away from my gold weight, and she only eats a cheese cube and then fakes. Like, I hate it. Please eat. That's all I want to say all day, every day. And I love that Miranda's just like whispering the name in airs. She looks gorgeous in her gown. And then Anne Hathaway gets cred because she knew a name that Emily didn't. And the editor is, like, really into her, is ready to, like, sweep her off her feet, is like, let's meet this one New York editor. And she really wants to, but she's like, I don't think I can. Like, she should have went to her boyfriend's party already, and she, like, knows that he's going to be mad, and you don't want to make old hot Adrian all mad. And her boyfriend is, like, so tired, and his birthday is pretty bad. And unlike the series, which I wonder if it took its name from this, Emily is no longer going to Paris, because Miranda is going to choose Anne Hathaway's character and makes her tell her, which is extra oof. And she's like, you can't go. And Emily is like, you're not serious. And she's like, you know what, we can't. She just, like, has a spiral meltdown, because this was her dream, right? And she is just devastated. I actually, like, don't always love Emily Blunt with bangs, because she's got such beautiful eyes, so it, like, hides them. Even though, like, I mean, she still looks, I mean, it's Emily Blunt, you know what I mean? Like, she's very just, like, unusual manic pixie girl pretty. So she looks so sad. There's, like, hip hop outside during it. The fact that she has to tell Emily is so that would be the most cringe thing. Like, I don't know how I would tell somebody who wanted something more than me that I got it. So, unfortunately, to even make matters worse for Emily, she got hit by a car when she was getting scarves, and Emily is just like absolutely mad at Anne Hathaway. She's like, you sold soul for Jimmy Choo's. And she's like, just admit who you are and that you like it. And she's like, you don't even deserve these clothes. You eat carbs. And the editor guy that's been like kind of flirting with Anne Hathaway is like, hey, are you going to be in Paris? And one of her friends sees the guy kiss her on the cheek and is disgusted. And Anne Hathaway is very much being like, I don't have a choice in all of this. And I kind of wish that her friends would, like, calm down a little bit. Like, I mean, I think that is really the thing of success, because I think she's a little bit right in that she didn't have a choice. Like, this is a way to get ahead, and she wants this job, and it's, like, meaningless to her. And I get, like, I don't know, like, the artist spirit and all of that. But, like, the reality is like, you gotta eat, and it's, like, hard, right? Like, what you're supposed to just behave however your friends want you. Like, I don't know. I think, like, real friends would be like, I know the real you, and, like, that sucks. You feel like you have to do it. And then you would know when they start, like, treating you bad. And obviously, like, she is kind of having a flirtationship with this guy, but it is what it is. So, she ends up breaking up with, like, one guy because they don't really have anything in common anymore. And she's like, we got to take a break. And Miranda calls, and it's like during the middle of the fight of the relationship, and she's like, wow, you know what I mean? Like, and she takes it, right? Miranda's relationship has trumped her own, which I think when you are an assistant, that work-life balance, particularly in fashion, can really come up. Like, do you set the boundaries? I would like to think that I wouldn't take that call, but I probably would. And I think I have also chosen a guy that understands that about me. But I guess it would be hard when you have changed. That's not how it normally happened. But anyway, that editor guy just waiting to sweep in. I mean, it's Anne Hathaway. What, can she be single for like 5 seconds? You know what I mean? Like, she's way too gorgeous. And Miranda holds her hand out, and she's like, oh, move. Yes, move at a glacial pace. You know, that thrills me. Amazing. I love it. And she's like, we don't even have to fetch Steven. We're getting a divorce. And she's like, you know, you can just fetch away, very fetching. And, you know, they're trying to make fetch happen here. So she's like, I'd love for you to contact Leslie to minimize the press, you know, because I don't want to hear about how there's another divorce of the Dragon Lady Snow Queen who's career obsessed. And she's just tired of guys calling the shots. And she messes up poor Nigel's thing because she knows, like, even though he's waited for, like, 18 years, she wanted to come and see Paris, and she gets partner and just kind of messes up Nigel's life plan, which is brutal and really, really sucks. Emily shrunk to a 4 during her car wreck, which is rough, and she ends up, like, being, you know, sleeping with the editor and who's calling her baby, but she's like, I'm not. And Miranda just makes that move of putting Jacqueline in as she's cheaper and younger at Runaway, and she's telling it at dinner. And that was supposed to be Nigel's job, right? But she had to protect her own because Jacqueline was going to set out to replace her. And she's like, you know, you might be judging me, old Anne Hathaway's character, but when the time is right, you know, you choose payback. And Anne Hathaway's like, you really sure about that? And she's like, I really have to. And she's like, I knew for a while I had to find Jacqueline. You know, I know a lot of people that are following me. And I really see myself in you. You have to see what beyond what people want and need and choose yourself. And Hathaway really doesn't like this conversation. It's really beautiful. Meryl Streep fought to keep this part in. They were going to get rid of it. And it's like one of the biggest things that I remember from this movie. And Anne Hathaway is like, I couldn't do what you did to Nigel, what you did to Emily. And she's like, everyone wants this. It's not me. And Miranda's calling her, and she just tosses the phone in the fountain, apologizes to the boyfriend, and debates about moving to Boston to work something out with a job interview. And the one job interview is like, yeah, it's weird. She said you were like the biggest disappointment of an assistant, but I'd be an idiot if I didn't hire you. And she makes it right with Emily by giving her Paris clothes. And she's like, oh, I'll have to take these in. They'll drown me. But yeah, that is The Devil Wears Prada. Yeah, I really like this movie. Definitely in my top 100, probably in my top 50, maybe in my top 25. We'll see. I feel like I haven't watched enough movies, but it's up there. It's just very good. It's just very compelling. It's interesting. It's well acted. I mean, three of the greatest women actors of my generation. Just incredible work. I mean, the story was written by the girl who then takes over, like, and helps with Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. I'm obsessed with her, like, talent is talent, and it's in this movie. And it's just, like, it was compelling to even, like, people of genders it wasn't even supposed to be compelling to. So I really liked it. And would be very curious, what did you think? What are your favorite lines? Do you agree? Do you think Anne Hathaway's character should have stayed? I was kind of rooting for her to be ruthless. Here's the reboot that we need. I think a Devil Wears Prada series would be very interesting, and I am sad it hasn't happened. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. I would appreciate it so much if you follow. If you have some money to spare, you could even buy some of my merch that's here. It's not Vogue, but I like some of the stuff. Anyway, I hope you have a great one. Bye.